Hello and welcome. This is Yoyo speaking, and today let's continue our tones and pronunciation study. Before I uploaded a video about how to practice tones, and some people liked it and commented on the video. So today I'm gonna give you the second part of the pronunciation and tones. So from this lesson, you will know how to control your tones and pronunciation properly when you're speaking Chinese languages. Part 1 is only about the tones, so if you didn't see the video before, you can just check this link, then you can see our previous content. Before we start, I'd like to remind you guys, if you're currently learning Chinese languages, of course, almost every dialect has its own tones, and this differs a lot from other dialects, but tones are not the most important thing in our Chinese language family because people can understand you by using your content. And when you're speaking or talking to other people, of course, they can also figure out what you mean by either your speaking intention or the environment, as well as your expressions and body gestures. So, for example, me, I'm not a Cantonese native speaker. I do have some accent, and my tones are not that correct sometimes. So local people here can tell that I have accent and I'm not local, but it doesn't prevent me from being understood by local people or being a good teacher. So my suggestion is, of course, to spend some time on the tones is totally okay, but you don't have to spend too much time. I do see a lot of students they still have accent after years of learning Chinese languages. So I'm here to say it's natural and you don't have to worry that much. Tip number 1, to soften the tones that you're not good at. For example, when you speak in sentences, the most frequently used characters are usually the ones that you're good at. For example, I, you, he and she, these pronouns of people. But for other syllables or characters, if you don't use them often enough, you might not be able to produce them very accurately. So for these that you're not good at, my suggestion is to produce them softly, or you just need to slightly produce them. Let's take English word as an example. This guy is produced as photographer. So certainly you will see the second syllable is stressed and others are not. So what I mean by saying to produce the sounds that you're not good at softly is to use English unstressed syllables as the examples. So to completely forget about the tones that you're not good at. So for example, photographer, apart from the second syllable, others are not stressed. So these sound or syllables can be the way to use when you're producing incorrect or the sound that you're not good at. In this case, people would say that your mistakes or your accent is not that obvious. Let's take this sentence as the example. Suppose the first two characters, you're very good at their tones and pronunciations, and the rest you're not very familiar with, so you might make some mistakes when you're producing them. So the tips are here. First is for the rest that you're not good at, to give them less loudness. So don't speak that loud. If you're loud, then people are very easy to tell that your accent is strong. And second is to try to use the unstressed syllable sounds in English or other Western languages. And if you can manage these two, then people would say that your accent is acceptable or at least okay. So most people would just say the rest very loudly, like 我係大學生. But you might make some mistakes with the unfamiliar sounds. So let's just reduce the loudness and try to speak them a bit quicker and use the unstressed syllables in Western languages. 我係大學生. All right? So This is the method that I use to cheat people, and it always works. Tip number 2 is to pause between words or phrases in the correct way while speaking in sentences. This is important because you notice in a lot of languages they have spaces in between, but Chinese, unfortunately, we don't. We never use spaces, and we write from the very beginning all the way till the end without pausing. So this makes people very hard to know when should we pause, especially when we speak long sentences. But here are the things that you need to notice. As long as you can use other foreign languages, then this problem is solved. So how can we find the correct place to pause? I guess you can just use your mother tongue. Let's take English as the example again. So usually in a sentence we will have the event doer, verb or adjectives, then event taker, and sometimes we have conditions, time, and places. So if you can divide them into different parts according to their meaning, then you will know when to pause. So for example, first is the event doer, followed by the verb, and then that is our event taker. Then these three are the smallest meaning part, and then you can just use your mother tongue, then translate them into the target language, then you will know when to pause. Just pause between them. Why is pausing so important in Chinese languages? Of course, you can take this sentence as the example. If you pause differently, then the meaning is changed completely. Tip number 3 is to be a relaxed speaker. This has two meanings. The first meaning is I see a lot of students, they do a lot of movement and they exaggerate their mouth while speaking Chinese languages. No, this is not correct. Especially when you want to speak faster, you will find it very hard because your movement is just too many. Okay, so when you notice the local people talking, our mouth shape and tongue positions are not that exaggerated. So just relax your mouth and don't make it too tense so that you can speak in a more natural way. Of course, you can speak faster. If you do a lot of movement here, people would just think that you're doing cardio in your mouth. The second meaning is when you meet some tones that you're not good at, all you need to do is to let it go. Some people, they are checking their pronunciation and tones for every single characters, and this will make people feel that you're talking just like a machine, like a robot. Don't be a machine, be a human. So to speak faster and in a more natural way, you just need to completely forget about the tones that you're not good at. First, you can be better when you're producing the tones that you're sure or good at. And when you don't have problems with these, then you face the problems that you're still having. So to let you know the truth, that is, people are not carrying the tones that much while talking with you. As long as your sentences are complete and your sentences are grammatically correct, I'm sure people will be able to understand you when you're talking to you face to face, because we have content, we have the environment, and of course, we're not that stupid. And your Chinese language level is not high enough to make us confused. We will know. So just be confident and don't have to care too much about the tones. But of course, you can speak the tones correctly like local people, then congratulations. All right, so that's all for my sharing for today. 3 tips, hope I can help you. And if you still have some questions, welcome to visit our website and leave your comments.